deceptive, dishonest.
But isn't it a fact that many Muslims who have moved to France have organized certain neighborhoods and said, do not come here, Sharia law prevails here, and do not enter? There's certain enclaves, there's no-go zones. Tell us about these Sharia environments now in France and in the West.
The French government actually has them listed on a website, quite specifically, 751 of them.
What Fox News has dubbed the no-go zones in France are actually, as Bloomberg Businessweek points out, neighborhoods that have been designated as priority areas for urban renewal, some of them located in Paris's trendy gentrifying neighborhoods, like, empowerment zones or some such. In fact, the guy who claims to invented the concept of French no-go zones, right-wing commentator named Daniel Pipes, who first wrote about them back in 2006, he even now admits he was mistaken. But the truth that undermines the no-go zone hysteria doesn't seem to matter too much to many on the right.
Deceptive, dishonest, and their areas are clearly demarcated in this on this website. The idea is that many of the Muslim leaders, they actively discouraged assimilation among the immigrants and insisted that they had to adhere to their Islamic values, since Islamic values, they believe, are superior to Western values. And so they set up these areas where Islamic law would be enforced. And in many cases, the police are hesitant to go in to these areas because they're met with so much hostility and sometimes even violence. And so, unfortunately, the French government has not been enforcing the principle, which is the foundation of a free society, that there should be one law for all. There's no privileged class that is a separate set of laws. But that principle's on its way out because these districts are going to do nothing but grow, and then they're going to inevitably come into conflict with the non-Muslims around them.
Fox News helpfully posted a map of the so-called no-go zones in Paris, showing exactly where they supposedly are, a move that prompted an all-time great bit of mockery from French TV on a show called Le Petit Journal.
Pour ceux qui ne connaissent pas Paris, on a envoyé notre équipe quadriller les quartiers interdits de la capitale. Selon Fox News, heureusement, ils avaient des casques. Voici les zones interdites de Fox News.
Vous le définiriez comment, ce quartier?
Quartier pas cher, sympathique, c'est tout, vraiment. Moi, je fais mes courses ici.
On a à Belleville, il y a des juifs, il y a des arabes, il y a des chinois, il y a des chrétiens, il y a des athées, il y a tout.
Est-ce que vous avez déjà vu des jeunes avec des t-shirts Ben Laden dans le quartier?
Non, non.
Est-ce que c'est un quartier qui pourrait ressembler à l'Afghanistan ou à l'Irak?
Non, je suis choqué. Alors là, votre question, excusez-moi, mais elle est un peu stupide là. Non, pas du tout.
Deceptive, dishonest.
Fox News does not often apologize for its errors or even acknowledge its errors, but it was forced to over the weekend. All last week, in response to what was going on after the Charlie Hebdo terrorist attacks, they began reporting on purported no-go zones in Paris and in some other countries like the UK. Areas that were not, the police couldn't go in there, the firefighters couldn't go in there. They were being run by Sharia courts and Islamic militants. That, of course, was not true. We showed at the time that it wasn't true.
Deceptive, dishonest.
We're forced to apologize. Here is one of those instances. This is Fox News host Julie Banderas.
A correction now. Over the course of this last week, we have made some regrettable errors on air regarding the Muslim population in Europe, particularly with regard to England and France. Now, this applies especially to discussions of so-called no-go zones, areas where non-Muslims allegedly aren't allowed in and police supposedly won't go. To be clear, there is no formal designation of these zones in either country and no credible information to support the assertion there are specific areas in these countries that exclude individuals based solely on their religion.
No credible information, but that did not stop them on almost all of their programs from running it all week long. The designation no-go zones, that is not something, as she said, that the French government didn't put out there, the UK didn't put out there. It was a conservative author who began using that term. And by the way, they didn't just say that it was in France and in the UK. They also talked about areas of the United States that were considered no-go zones, like Dearborn, Michigan, and places like that.
Deceptive, dishonest.
Damage is done. I mean, and think that that's part of the point of doing that. I don't think that there was really any desire to do any kind of fact checking on these, outrageous claims.
Deceptive, dishonest.
I want to see the person who sent out a memo to all of their shows that you are going to advance these honestly Islamophobic comments about two of our closest military and economic allies. I want that person to apologize.
It's not a big story. It's not important. It just happens to be the story where Fox specifically got caught making something up. They make something up every day. Bad for America. You people who watch Fox, kids should not be allowed to watch Fox. And
deceptive, dishonest.